What's the best thing about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man? Well, it's his workout face. Spider-Man 2, released in 2004, and is directed by Sam Raimi, who's behind the Evil Dead franchise, this entire Spider-Man trilogy, and Oz the Great and Powerful. Also that piece of shit superhero movie, Darkman, which is one of my most controversial movie reviews that I've done on here. I had never seen it before watching it for this channel, and I absolutely despised it. But apparently it has this huge cult following, so I got a bunch of shit for giving it a half a Blu-ray. It's one of my early reviews. Go back and check it out if you'd like. This movie, however, is probably Sam Raimi's best. And this film stars Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, Alfred Molina, J.K. Simmons, and Rosemary Harris. And this comes as a recommendation from one of my followers, one of my fans, Disney65 fan. She's recommended films on here before. I believe she recommended Enchanted, and her movie popped up again, so I was like, let's do Spider-Man 2. I haven't checked this one out in a while. Peter Parker is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And on the surface, he seems to really like being Spider-Man because he's helping people. However, that is the only good thing that is happening in his life at this point. The love of his life, Mary Jane Watson, is finding love in someone else's arms. His Aunt May is being evicted from her home. And his best friend, Harry Osborn, is seeking revenge on Spider-Man because he believes that he killed his father. Plus, on top of this, he cannot hold down a job, he can't afford his rent, and he's failing at his classes. But one of his assignments in class is to do a paper on Dr. Otto Octavius, who is on the brink of developing his own fusion-based power source. But what we're all about to discover is that this power source is too great to have in the hands of one person. Because with great power comes great responsibility. So this was the follow-up to the first Spider-Man that came out in 2002, which, in my opinion, really took the modern-day superhero and comic book film just into the stratosphere. Yes, a lot of people attribute the rise of the superhero film to the first X-Men or even to the first Blade, but really Spider-Man was the one to really integrate it into pop culture and just to the mainstream worldwide, because Spider-Man it's arguably one of the most popular superhero comic book characters just in the world. It's right up there with Superman and Batman. When it comes to the Marvel side of things, I think, oh yeah, by far, it's Spider-Man. He's the biggest one. And I think the reason why he is so popular is that, well, he's your average day person. He's really just a kid outside of his element, just trying to keep doing the right thing. Because he didn't do the right thing at one point, and his Uncle Ben suffered the consequences. It's an origin story that is just as popular as the Batman origin. And we had a first great outing with the first Spider-Man. Willem Dafoe is the Green Goblin. That is perfect casting. The face of that man is the Green Goblin. That's perfect. So let's give him a full mask to cover up that perfect face. Still a great movie, though. So how do you top that? How do you top the Green Goblin in that first Spider-Man movie that was really, really excellent? You throw in Otto Octavius, that's how. Arguably the most iconic Spider-Man villain. A lot of people like saying that the Green Goblin is the Joker to Spider-Man, but really Otto Octavius, Doc Ock, he is the most gimmicky, and I think he's the most recognizable when you see him. And I love the take of Otto Octavius here. When you see Alfred Molina, you go, oh yeah, that's Doc Ock from that 90s Spider-Man cartoon. But I love that they don't really make him a bad guy here. He is a scientist that is trying to better the world. His experiment doesn't go exactly to plan, so he becomes ousted from everyone, but he really wants to do the science experiment, so he'll steal money and build an even bigger experiment. But he is still a good person. He is a satisfying antagonist for Spider-Man, for Peter Parker in this particular film. But really the main antagonist here is, well, it's really our protagonist. It's Peter Parker. The main storyline here, it's loosely based off of the Spider-Man run called Spider-Man No More, where Peter Parker gives up being Spider-Man. The same exact thing happens in this movie. We see Spider-Man swinging from building to building, and then all of a sudden his web shooters just aren't working. He can't climb, he can't stick to walls, and he just becomes flat out human because his body is rejecting the responsibility, is rejecting the power, or maybe his psyche is. And that is a perfect place to take this beloved character in his second outing, because Peter Parker in a way has always had that kind of that Christ figure symbolism behind him. He's that character that after Uncle Ben passed away sets out to do the right thing regardless of his needs, what he wants, anything that makes him happy. So he will give up relationships, he will give up jobs, room and board. He's basically giving up schooling at this point. All because he knows he has these powers and he has the responsibility to help people with them. But the human side of him in this movie just goes, you deserve happiness. You don't deserve all the stress. You don't deserve all of this responsibility that you have. And when that happens, we get the wonderful raindrops keep falling on my head sequence, which on first viewing, I was like, what the hell is this? But I'm loving it, and it's hilarious. And then they fucked it up in Spider-Man 3. But it's that self-sacrifice that we really love about Peter Parker, and I think that's why we gravitate to the Spider-Man lore, and they keep trying to bring back Spider-Man again and again and again every single decade. Kirsten Dunst is... I'll be honest, I don't like her as Mary Jane, and I really didn't like her in this film. I was apathetic to her in the third one because I know she did not want to come back for it. I thought she was pretty good in the first Spider-Man, but in this one it just didn't click for me. Or maybe it was the decision of where they took Mary Jane's character. They took her down a very self-righteous and self-entitled path, where she keeps belittling Peter Parker for not coming to see her Broadway show. Which, I'm an actor, I've acted on stage before, and I guess it really doesn't bother me if people don't come. I understand. I guess it bothers me if no one comes to the show, like, period, and you're just doing the show for, like, 2 people. But, like, if friends, family can't make it because, well, they don't like the show, or they have work, or they have families that they have to take care of, I guess maybe I'm just more easygoing than MJ. I'm just like, you know, get over yourself. And James Franco... I think this was very early in his career, and I think he was really miscast as Harry Osborn. He's a pretty face, but everything else about the character, I'm like, I don't buy it. But really, who steals the show in every single Spider-Man film is J.K. Simmons as John Jonah Jameson. They must bring him back as JJ in the new Spider-Man films. Because he's JJ. No one else can be him. Scene stealer, showstopper, that is who he is to this franchise. By far, my favorite part. I guess I should probably talk about Tobey Maguire's performance as Spider-Man, seeing I forgot him and he's the title character. At the time, I really enjoyed him. At the time, I hadn't had any Spider-Man films, so by default, he was my Spider-Man. But in the line of these Spider-Men that we've gotten over the past couple of decades, out of the 3, he's probably my least favorite Spider-Man now. Tom Holland, I think, is absolutely adorable, and he's just the perfect kid Spider-Man that we want. Very Brian Michael Bendis-y. And I know it's not a popular opinion, but I really like Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. Just the movies he was in were just... they were not good. But I loved his characterization. Going back, there are points here where I do love Tobey Maguire. The fatigue, the tiredness, the burden. You can just see the burden of responsibilities on his shoulders as he's carrying himself. You can see the weight of the world on his shoulders. But time-wise, this is 2 years after the first Spider-Man movie, and in that one, they just graduated high school. So seeing him, he looks like he is 35 in this film. And I want my Spider-Man to be younger. He is not terrible. He's definitely a serviceable Spider-Man, especially for the time, for the first 2 films. Spider-Man 3 is... no, that was a mistake. That'll be a fun recommendation for anyone out there. But does this film still stand up today? Yeah, it definitely does. It was hailed at the time as one of the best, if not the best, comic book film ever. And to this day, I would say that that would hold up. If it's not the best, it's definitely near the top 10, maybe the top 15, top 20. The visual effects, for the most part, still stand the test of time. The score by Danny Elfman is super iconic for me. But you know what drives me crazy about this Spider-Man trilogy is that suit just sucks. That thing doesn't stand up to anything. You put any pressure or you try to rip it at all, and yeah, it'll rip very freely. Plus, that mask keeps coming off. That was my big problem with this trilogy, and then also the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. They keep taking off the mask. At least with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, that suit, it's all one thing, and it's robotic, and it's super, super tough, so that thing's not gonna get ripped. It's like, come on, guys, he's Spider-Man. Keep the mask on. I know he's a popular actor, and he wants FaceTime, but come on! Guys, in the end, I absolutely love this movie, and it still holds up. A lot to my surprise. I love the storyline that they went with here. I love that they did this self-sacrifice, I want to give everything up character arc for Peter Parker. If any of you are into comics, actually this ties in perfectly to a run called The Spectacular Spider-Man. In this run, Dr. Octavius is on his deathbed. I believe he's dying because he had cancer or something like that, and just before he dies, Peter Parker pays him a visit. But Octavius has created this device that allows him to swap consciousness ends with Spider-Man. So Spider-Man becomes Doc Ock, and Doc Ock becomes Spider-Man. And Doc Ock / Spider-Man dies, and Octavius becomes Spider-Man, and the whole run is Peter Parker, but with the consciousness of Doc Ock. And he discovers just how much responsibility and power that this person has. Pretty sure it came out after this movie, but gosh, that'd be a great storyline. The visual effects, for the most part, still hold up, and I do like the majority of this cast. So guys, I'm gonna give Spider-Man 2 4.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I think I see blue. He looks glorious.
I'm actually shocked about that one. I didn't think it was gonna hold up as much as it did. All right, everyone, now comes my favorite part in my videos, where I randomly select which movie I'm gonna be watching next, so let's take a look. Awesome! It's A Knight's Tale. I love this movie. Kind of playing off of that Chaucer poetry. Going back to medieval times, Heath Ledger, he is a knight, or at least wanting to be a knight, and he's kicking ass at jousting. And there's rock songs, there's Queen, and yeah, that makes sense. And I know Alan Tudyk's in here, Paul Bettany is in here. I remember loving this film, and I'm really excited to watch it. I haven't seen this thing in years, so check it out, and we'll give it a review here next time. So everyone, have you seen Spider-Man 2? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, please comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And where does Tobey Maguire rank on our listing of Peter Parkers? And then when you're done commenting, please like and subscribe to my channel so you know the next time I'm posting my next movie review. So thank you very much, Disney 65 fan. If any of you have recommendations of films that you want me to review on here, please comment below this video, leave your recommendation there, or go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my Twitter, leave your recommendation there, and if I have access to that movie, I will watch it, review it, and give you a shout out here on my channel. So everyone, I will see you next time with my review of A Knight's Tale. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.